Hi, I'm Andrea Klim, and you are watching Turn to the Stars. And today is October 14th, 2014, and I'm going to be talking about Earth astrology and the answers in our stars. Kind of give you an order of the topics. I do want to finish first talking about the partial solar eclipse that we're going to be experiencing on October 23rd. Just a week or more away, and then I'm going to be talking about the answers in our stars. And let's first discuss that the remainder of the information that I've gathered to talk about with you on the partial solar eclipse, which is occurring on October 23rd, and I have a chart I'm going to put on the screen that shows us that once again. You saw this last week, but there's quite a bit more that I wanted to add to that information, providing some further insight into this eclipse. And you can see that eclipse down in the bottom right, about 4 o'clock. It's all shadowed with yellow. The sun, the moon, Venus, all together conjoined at 0 degrees of Scorpio, and it is indicative that we as a whole will be concentrated on looking below the surface of health issues. The placement in the universal astrology chart of this solar eclipse that is occurring just after dark here on the East Coast, exactly at 6:48 p.m. is when we get the full manifestation of this energy. You can see that the sun is below the horizon being right through the middle of that chart. And that particular area of the chart is representative of health care, health issues, caring for our health. And so that's why I say that we as a whole will be concentrated on looking below the surface at health issues. We'll be forced to focus on a new direction in healthcare. The solar eclipse, again, as I said before, is in that area of the chart which is bringing our attention to our health and our well-being and our day-to-day work and how we help each other along the way. So we'll be most focused on identifying illnesses and the root of their origin. For some of us, circumstances are such that we need to pay more attention to these matters. Any flaws in an important system in our lives, basically what I'm trying to say is the flaws that are occurring, affecting our lives will be revealed around the time of this eclipse. And it's going to prompt us to redo, research, so that we can start fresh. Scorpio is a sign that brings us to be like that detective. It'll inspire us to look below the surface. And some things will end in order for other things to start anew. And you may find that you have to give up something in order to move forward into a new chapter in your life. Even though a new direction may be unforeseeable, it is important to allow the walls to come down and to surrender to the unknown of the future. Ideally, that eclipse is showing us that because it is right with what we call the north node of the moon, the node pointing us in a whole different direction. So this eclipse occurs close to the nodal axis, and as I just said, it is close to the north node. Eclipses close to this north node tend to give us a sense or a feel that it'll be a little easier than if it was a south node. Although this energy is Scorpio. Scorpio is the strongest water sign of the zodiac, meaning that it's fixed, so it does sort of represent that there are some big things that are going to be changing in our lives. It does indicate many transitions will be will be occurring. So this solar eclipse means that there will be experiences that bring us to a new identity, and that we'll become aware of what our new direction will look like. The eclipse is interesting because solar eclipses, are representative of big change, new identities. I was this, but I'm going to add this to my portfolio, so to speak. So this Scorpio solar eclipse holds a signature of intense emotions, which is a driving force to look, that those emotions will be a driving force that sort of influence us to look below the surface, to uncover whatever has become stagnant, and then to look to the brilliant light of the future with acceptance that everything in life changes. We'll feel more in charge of those changes because of this being a North Node eclipse. Major developments in the personal areas of our lives that are ruled by the that Scorpio rules in our charts are likely to occur over the course of the next 3 to 6 months. Very important marker, a solar eclipse. And this is actually the final eclipse in a series falling along the Taurus-Scorpio axis over the last couple of years. And after this, 6 months from now, the next eclipse we'll experience will be a solar eclipse that's going to be at 29 degrees in the constellation of Pisces on March 20th. And then to follow it will be the third total lunar eclipse of the 4 occurring within 2014 and 2015 at 14 degrees of Libra. So it will be a solar eclipse that follows the one that we are having on October 23rd. So even though we're starting fresh, we're also cleaning up. Important to remember that with Scorpio. Starting fresh, but we may have some things that are identified that we need to clean up. Not everyone will feel the effects of the eclipse with the same intensity. Just depends on what your individual makeup is and where the planets are in your birth chart. So if you have planets in your birth chart which are activated by the degree of this eclipse, you will feel the effects on a personal level the most. And this phase of the moon occurring at 0 degrees Scorpio will affect people. This solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon come together. So it'll affect people that are born with personal degrees of between 0 to 5 of the fixed signs, which are Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and anyone that has planets that are 25 to 29 degrees of the cardinal signs, which are Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. You'll feel the effects and the changes in your life the most significantly if you have these planets in these degrees in your birth chart. The solar eclipse occurs at approximately the same degrees as the solar eclipse that occurred back in October 24th of 1995. That was 19 years ago. And whatever you were doing at that time, currently there is some strong similarities. However, 19 years later, there's a lot more wisdom. So remember that as you have things end and new things begin. It might help you to think back to this period. If you think about the circumstances, think about your experiences or the themes that surrounded your life then. And it'll help you to get a better understanding of what's to come in your life. So the overall symbology of this partial eclipse will be one of far-reaching consequences. It symbolizes that we're ready to move into new territory. It also symbolizes that we are eager to expand our horizons and to experience the results of our achievements, delivering us each to experience a new way of life. So it reminds us to love, not fear. Very, very important during this time, because we do have a partial darkening of the sun, and it's our light, and it's something that really keeps us going. So look to the light of the sun. And this, they call the sun the spirit of life, of creation, of our vital forces. So look to it for positive and helpful answers. It's interesting because I wanted to talk about a movie that I saw recently called The Fault in Our Stars. And what this movie, for anybody who's seen it, what it reminds us of is that the doorway to our dreams is often through the doorway of what we fear the most. And because of this eclipse, it will identify some of those things that we need to look at, need to be aware of, need to align with in order to change them. So, also on this line, I said that I wanted to talk about on today's show about the answers that we find in our stars. And I wanted to tell you that this topic was inspired by a party that I did readings for a whole group of really nice people up in Henniker, New Hampshire. And after the party, I was sitting and talking with them, and they asked me to do a show about how the planets are affecting us here on Earth. And I did remind them that, well, let me just first say this. They brought up the topic of Ebola and the viruses that we're physically being challenged by presently, and asked me to provide some insight on this topic. And I thought about it, and I, of course, explained to them that what they hear on Turn to the Stars TV show every week is about the stars and the planets and how they are affecting us and influencing us from our perspective here on Earth. However, I should say, though, that I want to just point this out, that here on Earth, we do revolve around the sun. We follow the sun. We are held by the sun. We are lighted by the sun, just like all the other planets are. And I have a picture that I want to show you. There it is. Earth is the blue line. This is actually a cylindrical picture that was created by A.T. Mann, a mentor, a teacher to me. And what we see here down the middle is the sun, which is the center, the light that provides, it's the light to we call it our solar system. And all the lines that you see rotating around that light are planets. And Earth is the blue line. And this is a series of years right here. And you can see that the sun is constant. It continues straight forward, and the planets revolve around it. And I wanted to show you that picture because, and you've seen this on my show before, you've seen this picture of our solar system, but I wanted to point this out, that when we look to the world around us, our neighbors, that is the planets whom like us revolve around the sun, and we map out how this physical location might be influencing us, we discover many answers. And going back to the newly released movie, The Fault in Our Stars, which is directed by Josh Boone, it is a story of the physical flaws, or faults, so to speak, or physical weaknesses that we're born with, and how these points in our being, when put under stress, react. So now I have another picture I want to show you. This picture is of exactly right now, 12 noon, as I'm taping today's TV show, October 14th, 2014. And what you see on the bottom is a picture, it's lighted in green, is the symbol that is a circle with a cross through it is a symbol for Earth. And it shows that we on Earth are currently being influenced by the energy of Aries, which is very progressive, which is very much about the self, and to look at ourselves, where we've come from. That's the symbol next to it, the South Node. And the planet next to it is Uranus. And these Earth, South Node, Uranus are all in the constellation of Aries. And what Uranus is symbolizing is, let's take a look at things from a different perspective. We're sort of in a rebellion to ourselves, or we are looking at how we can evolve, how we can grow scientifically, intuitively, physically. This is all occurring because of what you saw there. And that's a chart of right now. And what you see in that chart, if we could put that up again, I want to talk about what the weaknesses are that we see in this chart. And one of them is the square that is from this. Actually, I need to come back to, if I could, this is the wrong chart. If we could use the first chart that we used, and there we go. Thank you. What I want to talk about in this eclipse chart is some further insight into what is promised to change in our lives, to be brought to our brought right in front of us over the course of the next 6 months. And one of the weaknesses is a square that there's actually like 1, 2, 3 or 4 squares from the sun, the moon, Venus in Scorpio to the midheaven in Aquarius. And that suggests that we're going to have some incredibly tough experiences to our vitality, and emotionally, spiritually, and that we're going to need to accept that we need to take a different approach to the healthcare concerns, the things that are affecting us, or causing us to really pay close attention to our health. But I also want to point out that on that chart, if we could bring it back again, that first chart, that we see those red squares, those lines that are from that yellow area that go up to the midheaven, which is Aquarius. What that means is Aquarius is about the whole. It's everybody. It's our communities. And you also see some blue lines that are going up to the planet Neptune, which is at 4 degrees of Pisces. And what that suggests is relief. It opens the door from the eclipse to Neptune in the 11th house of Pisces. And there's this, what we call an interception of Pisces in that area of the chart, which is our communities, our groups, what we hope to achieve. And it suggests that we will achieve some resolve, and it suggests that there will be some relief. It does suggest that there will be some suffering that brings to light a resolve for the crisis that we're facing. Scorpio can suggest murky waters or fluids, stagnations, but the blue line suggests that we are going to find some type of antidote, and that we should look deep. We should look vast and far for these antidotes, or for these resolve. We are going to find resolve, and that we do need to look deep within, so to speak, the fluids, or the things. These things are not going to be easy to see, but there is going to be some resolve that is going to be found during this time. So Uranus, the planet over to the top left, I'd say this is probably around 11 o'clock if you were to look, which is bringing to light 2 areas of this chart, which is government, which is community and the people, people collectively. Uranus is in a square. We see that in this chart to Pluto. So we are faced with a great challenge scientifically to uncover the hidden answers, and that there's going to be some challenges to overcome here. However, through suffering, there's going to be many answers revealed through the suffering that's already occurred. They have some place to research. They have some area to put under the microscope. Neptune is a suggestion of the deep investigation. Deep investigation will provide answers into these healthcare problematic areas. This is the solar eclipse chart, and it is a universal chart. And I want to show you another chart now, which is actually the... let me just... find that one, and I believe it's today's chart for 12 noon, which is C. Yeah, that is it right there, with the Earth, which is right next to the south node. Earth is us. That's where we live. This is our home. So notice here, I'm going to point out some things about this chart in reference to us here on Earth, that the Earth is exactly opposite the Sun. We see the top left corner of this chart with the circle with a dot, the Sun at 21 degrees Libra. That's exactly today. And the Earth is always exactly opposite the Sun in a universal chart. The Earth is always opposite the Sun. As the Sun moves through the constellations, we receive the reflection of the Sun's vibrant energy on Earth, always. We always have, this is always a constant. So currently, as we examine this chart of today, we see that we here on Earth are very active in human self-management. That's what Aries suggests. We're very active. We're taking actions. We're moving in areas which are we're really looking at the family unit, and the human being and the life force. We're experiencing, this also is suggestive that we're experiencing some very weird and radical issues of which we're having some success in understanding, which is shown by the blue line that goes up to the right to Jupiter in Leo. So that is the indication that we are having some success in understanding how we can change some of these experiences. So everything that we're doing, a lot of the things we're doing are helping immensely. But the weaknesses that are shown in that chart, if we could bring it back, where the challenges lie is first with the incredible amount of pressure to keep up and scientifically solve these problems we're faced with as a whole. And that's the cross that you're seeing in this chart, the cardinal cross. A significant amount of pressure to overcome. There's opposition on Earth in relating, and surely it's with many problems we've been faced with in the past. The weaknesses are the red lines, so to speak, that challenge us to overcome, and there is indication that relief is seen, because we see the blue lines, the blue line going up to Jupiter, which is coming from Uranus, and those other, the south node and the Earth. So the blue line is suggesting relief, and the black and the yellow are symbols of the stressors. So notice that the Sun is almost at the top of the chart at 12 noon. So it's basically right overhead, as this is, the chart of right now. And the next chart I'm going to talk about is the sunset. This is tonight's sunset. We can see the sun. The horizon is right at the very middle of the screen horizontally. The gray area, we see the sun as it's setting on the horizon. And how connected, we're always connected to the sun. It's always a choice to be in control, to look at the sun. We always have a choice whether we look to the sun or we look to the darkness, whether we stay inside, whether we go out. And it really does provide us always, always, always on earth. It's light of awareness. So this is sunset today. So you can see an astrology chart offers answers into the natural algorithms of us and our surroundings. Answers are always there. And I find it interesting that when we cannot see the sun, that it is, that is when it goes below the horizon of the earth. For us here in New England, so that's what this chart is. I'm looking at Manchester, New Hampshire. We're physically in the dark, but we're always connected to the sun and its light. Those lines are always, always, always there. We're always exactly have this reflection on us of the sun. In essence, we on Earth are always above the horizon while the sun travels below the horizon. So the light of the sun is so important to us. However, the natural time for darkness and rest is also very important. So I have a chart here. The next chart, just want to point this out, is sunrise tomorrow morning. And I know we're getting very close to the end of the show, but I wanted to point out the sun over to the left. This is the sunrise tomorrow morning, which is about 7 o'clock that the sun is above the horizon, sunrise we call it, and it is still exactly opposite the earth. And I'm going to talk about this more on next week's show. I'm going to provide even more insight into the future and future effects to us here on Earth. And I'm calling this Earth Astrology, the answer in our stars. And I just want to leave you with something I read last evening in reference to this. Because our planet Earth is always the point directly opposite the sun in a chart, it holds and displays for us a symbol of our prime directive, our mission. Our sun always shows us the special spirit we are chosen to fulfill, the special spirit we have chosen to fulfill. This permanent opposition in the universal chart creates the full earth effect. It represents the direct beeline between heaven and earth, which has been sought and celebrated throughout the world and throughout time. It is always ever present in our universal compass charts. It is the direct link, this link between heaven and earth, direct link to the now, the only place from which our spirit speaks to us. That's the sun. It's always connected to us here on earth. And so I just wanted to leave you with that piece and tell you until next week, always remember to turn to the stars and you will find your answers there. And thank you for watching. Take good care. I'll see you next week.